Apple just threw this massive 50th birthday party at their spaceship campus while, sweating over a blown 5-year lead on Siri. We're we are tracking the brutal war for local artificial intelligence dominance happening inside the phone you hold every day. Tim Cook refused to scrape user data for targeted ads for years. The direct result of that privacy stance was falling desperately behind in generative models.
Falling behind leaves them holding $54 billion in net cash right now while begging competitors for help.
Guarding that much capital while licensing Google's Gemini to run the rebooted Siri feels like sitting on a dragon's hoard of gold while begging your neighbor for a cup of sugar. If Google builds the underlying brain, who actually controls the mind of the iPhone?
Apple aims to close that gap by pushing data processing entirely to the edge with the upcoming iPhone Fold.
Leaked specs point to a late 2026 release with this massive 7.8-inch inner screen.
They built a custom A20 Pro 2nm chip specifically to, process queries locally. Keeping your data off cloud servers entirely solves their privacy problem permanently.
Does a 2nm chip actually change the physics of the device? We hear these specs thrown around constantly.
Cramming transistors that tightly together means the chip takes up less physical space and draws significantly less battery power. Running massive models locally on a phone without the device melting in your hand requires that specific architecture.
Edge computing works just like hiring an elite private chef to cook inside your kitchen. You bypass the massive corporate restaurant where your data travels across the internet.
The private chef works entirely inside your house. Your ingredients never leave. Nobody else knows what you are eating. The iPhone Fold aims to become the ultimate secure vault.
Google is already invading Apple's vault. They just dropped AI Edge Eloquent on the iOS App Store.
It operates as a completely offline dictation app using local Gemma models to clean up speech instantly. Google is beating Apple at the local edge computing game right on Apple's own device.
Fixing typos offline is one thing. Escalating into a major global security threat requires a massive leap in capability.
Anthropic's new Mythos model discovers software exploits so fast that Canadian bank CEOs called an urgent situational meeting.
Why call a situational meeting just for a language model?
The Financial Sector Resiliency Group sat down in Ottawa to handle the reality of a machine finding thousands of vulnerabilities across major operating systems in seconds.
Reading computer code requires the same pattern recognition as reading human language.
Mythos ingests millions of lines of banking software and instantly spots the grammatical errors that create security holes.
Using Mythos to debug banking software feels like handing an elite bank robber the architectural blueprints to your vault. Giving the public access to that kind of firepower would trigger a total meltdown.
Anthropic restricted access entirely to Project Glasswing for major financial firms like JP Chase, just to prevent systemic catastrophe.
Carrying a world-class hacker in your pocket alters the entire power dynamic of the tech industry. Scaling a system that powerful down to run silently on everyday hardware is terrifying.
OpenAI bought Jony Ive's design firm for $6.4 billion to build a screenless agent. Jony Ive designed the original iPhone, and Sam Altman gave him an unlimited budget to replace it.
A wearable pin that you just speak to makes the traditional glowing grid of apps obsolete. You bypass the App Store entirely.
Apple's visual design advantage evaporates overnight.
Every tech giant is fighting a brutal war to run their models locally on your device.
Controlling the hardware interface dictates who owns the user.
Hosting artificial intelligence agents as powerful as Mythos, silently in your pocket, instantly outsmarting global banking security. Who is really holding the phone? Goodbye.